All right, welcome back, everyone. And I'm joined today with a special guest, a friend of mine that I met at the men's group when I was in Bali. I've mentioned that group a number of times on this podcast. And today, my guest from there is Troy Assoignon. I messed it up already.
That's close. Assoignon.
Assoignon. It's French. We got a French,
Assoignon.
a French Canadian here. Well, my brother from Vancouver. He's been traveling the world for. Well, I'll let him come out and share his story. But you're currently in Kuala Lumpur. We met in Bali. You're bouncing around Asia. And we're going to talk today basically about what Troy does, helping people and businesses optimize their performance online and offline through leadership, marketing, and the campaigns that he sets up, along with what he works with his girlfriend. And we're going to kind of talk about being a digital nomad, working in this kind of fast-paced new economy of, I guess, the freedom economy of working wherever you want as you are. So Troy, man, thanks for taking the time. Come on out, man, and give us a little bit about your background and what you're up to these days.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. So bit of a background, I guess. So I don't even know if you know this, but I was a construction worker for many years. So an interior contractor, drywall, taping, painting, steel studs.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout that time, we would go into job sites, and it was pretty competitive. We would go into job sites, and I learned throughout that time to educate and how to position myself. So we would go into jobs and use a laser measuring tool. We'd measure up all the walls, but oftentimes we actually didn't need to use that tool. But I noticed that because we take the extra time caring and actually doing this comparative to our competitors who would just
Mm-hmm.
come in, they get the blueprints, they give a price, we were winning more contracts.
Mm.
So from that, I ended up going into mentorship later on in life. I realized there's a lot of construction companies that were curious how we were landing contracts. I started mentoring in the construction realm, and then 2015, we went fully online, and I started working with various businesses, helping them with their positioning, with their offers, with their communication, and just how to educate and stand out and kind of work on their perception, but not in a sleazy way,
Mm.
in a way of like actually caring, of like actually delivering value to people in a better way,
Right.
instead of just, yeah. So that was honestly how I discovered what I'm doing. And from there, went full time in it, got a couple companies, some pretty great results, and been in it ever since. I think it's about 3 years now, full time.
Wow. And have you been traveling that whole 3 years, like on the road doing this, or are you kind of going back and forth to Vancouver, or what's your kind of,
So I met my girlfriend in a group that we started, a young entrepreneur society group, and we were doing events in Winnipeg, and me and her kind of crossed paths. And then me and her met up and she went to a Tony Robbins event in Florida. And then I ended up meeting her there after a year or after getting to know her online for about a year. Went to Florida, spent 3 weeks together, and then 4 months after that, I booked a one-way ticket to Vancouver, and that's when I kind of went all in on this whole realm. So 5 months after that, I booked another one-way ticket to Bali with her. She decided to go to Bali, and then we ended up spending, I think, close to about 8 months there. Spent 8 months in Bali, and then then we went back to Canada for a bit, and we're like, yeah, this is kind of cool, but we still want to travel. And then went to Thailand for almost a year, Europe, Bali, back to Bali. That's where I met you the second time.
right.
And now we're in KL. So yeah, it's been pretty much full time on the road. It's been interesting, lots of different challenges and get creative with prospecting and the time zones and different things.
Right.
But yeah, it's been full time ever since.
I'm just thinking too, the whole dynamic of traveling with the girlfriend, living with the girlfriend, and kind of doing business with the girlfriend. How has that kind of been? Like, I'm sure that's kind of like a roller coaster to manage in its own regard.
Yeah, I think it's been fun, interesting, and exciting. I mean, it's nice having somebody that is an entrepreneur. I think that's something that I've always known was really important in any romantic relationship is that, like, you know, as an entrepreneur yourself, you kind of, you have your wild tendencies and your way of doing things, and somebody that is your romantic partner needs to understand that. And fortunately, Alicia was also an entrepreneur previous to all of this as well in the makeup industry. She did a lot of freelance films and different things. So it's challenging, but at the same time, I think exciting and exhilarating. I think like it's the most spiritual experience you'll ever be on. It'll challenge every fiber of your being and make you face your deepest, darkest demons in a good way. I think because you can't really run away from them when you're in Canada or the States or a different place. You can just kind of go out. Whereas like in a lot of these foreign countries, you kind of have to stick together and you have to face the stuff.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of like, you know, I think that's a good test to see if the relationship is good enough to withhold that, because perhaps if it was easier to just walk away or break up, if you were living in a place like Canada or the US, but when you're kind of like, you know, living abroad and working together, it kind of makes you ride the tides, as they say, instead of just bail ship. So I've never really thought of it that way, but I could see how that would be an interesting dynamic. So
I think with being in Thailand comparative to Bali, we lived in the country in Thailand. So we were like 25 minutes out of the city. Whereas in Bali, you're like kind of always in like an area that's moving. I think when we were in Bali, like we wouldn't face our stuff as much because it was easy to go to a cafe or go to the beach or just go being and doing something. Whereas when we were in the country, we kind of had to face ourselves more. Because like when you go into the city, you have to be planned to go into the city. You don't just hop on your scooter and just like go. So I think that was an interesting. I think it's great because it forced us to face our own darker parts of ourselves instead of just kind of being distracted. Because I think it's really easy to distract yourself from going in.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, we're surrounded by distractions these days, even in the best environments and situations, but being in a space where you kind of, you know, I think that these days having these uncomfortable conversations is so key, you know, like especially to deepen a relationship, to go through the darkness, as you say. And then when you come out the other end, you're tighter because of it, because you guys committed to stay with the process and each other. That's probably why. How long have you been together for?
So almost, I'd say about 3.5 years now.
Oh, wow. That's quite a while. And she's from Vancouver. And are you from Winnipeg?
I'm from Winnipeg originally, yeah.
Oh, wow, man. I had a basketball scholarship there. I played for the University of Winnipeg Westman.
That's so fun.
Yeah. I went to U of W. I lived like downtown, and also on Cordon Street there. It's a pretty happening place in the summer, but pretty freaking cold in the winter.
Yeah, it's freezing in the winter, but it's amazing in the summer. That's one thing that we do miss is Canadian summers.
Yeah.
We're not gonna lie, that's something that we want to kind of work into our travel schedule as the years come on. But yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah. So you two are running two similar but kind of slightly different businesses. If you want to kind of share what you are doing and how you're kind of going about supporting yourself to travel around the world for all these years, in further depth.
Yeah, so I guess I'll touch on mine and kind of add to hers. I think this was interesting to the topic that you talked about. Over the past year or two, we kind of commingled our businesses for a while and we're building like the same thing. And then we realized that like it's better that we create our own things and then come together so we could actually fall deeper in love and not like be trying to micromanage something together and build it together. Is challenging. So basically my realm's focused on positioning and mentorship, optimizing people's offers and getting more of what they currently got. I think a lot of the times it's easy to get caught up in your own stuff in your realm, and just kind of like let the cog just keep on turning. A lot of people that generally come to me, they're at a place where doing well in business, but they want more and they're maxed out. They're maxed out on time, effort, and energy. They don't know where they can get more. So it's creating strategy for them to optimize their current efforts. Area that I'm looking more into and moving more into is performance-based marketing. So companies that have existing lists of past customers, helping them reactivate past customers and creating profit share where they basically don't have to pay any fees up front. And then on the back end, we create a beautiful experience where they make more customers and we deliver their marketing. So because there's a lot of digital marketing out there now, there's a lot of people competing in that space. So we're looking at doing it differently where we do absorb a lot of the risk, but at the end of the day, we absorb a lot of the upside too. And we can create a beautiful relationship where it's extremely trust-based. It has to be, it has to be a depthful relationship. We can only work with a handful of 1 to 5 people in that realm. Because after that you get pretty stacked. But yeah, between the mentorship, one-on-one mentorship and the optimization and positioning and just working in their offers and getting their sales process tighter, and then back-end optimization with existing businesses and companies, reactivating old lists and reactivating kind of more of their hidden assets.
Right. That's really interesting. So I've never heard like when we were in Bali, it seemed like everyone had a social media marketing agency, like everyone was doing that. But I've never heard somebody put it together where you have so they don't pay anything up front. You just say, look, we're gonna maximize and market another offer or something to the list, and then you do a revenue share, pretty much like a 50-50 split.
Yeah, and they have to, it can vary on the percent, but they have to have a list. They have to have like a pretty decent sized list. It can't just be like someone with like 10, 15 customers. It has to be like a couple thousand past customers, an established business. It's definitely out of the norm, but everyone's going right. So we're trying to go left.
Zig when everyone else is zagging. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because like, I mean, we've built a lot of front ends and we do a lot of paid upfront advertising. But this model is for us to attract, I guess, higher end businesses, businesses that are doing well, but they want to do better and bigger. And a lot of marketing hasn't been brought to the 21st century in bigger businesses. It's kind of like, 10 years old, but we're also playing in 2019. So whereas a lot of the smaller businesses are using the cutting edge of marketing, which is okay. But I think it has somewhat less impact when you're building a front end, because front end, like optimizing somebody's front end and building out their whole marketing machine takes a lot. Takes like all you've got and more, testing, tweaking, optimizing, building out 10, 15 different variations of a page to find the one that wins. So that we're trying to move away from that realm and be more in the actual performance realm of they've already done their testing, they know their market, they know their customer, but they just want to get more out of what they currently got.
Interesting. And as far as that, are you using, like everyone's kind of into Clickfunnels these days, are you using that for the majority of the software to build the pages, or do you do something with a different kind of software? I'm just kind of curious how you're actually doing the time.
We can use Clickfunnels. It really depends what they're currently using. I think at the end of the day, the platform doesn't matter as much as the message. You can create any page on most, whatever it be, whatever platform. I guess it's just your preference. Like if they use MailChimp, if they use ActiveCampaign, if they use Clickfunnels, Instapages, I have fortunately a design background myself. I self-taught myself design at 14 years old. So yeah, that's kind of definitely helped me. So I can kind of make my way around the technology space pretty efficiently.
That's what I was going to ask you next. Like, is it you actually going through and doing this, or do you have a team, or do you, like have outsourcers, or kind of how do you have the time to kind of do all this? Because I assume it's pretty, like, as you said, extensive to work with developing something from the ground up on the front end.
So from the front end perspective, we have a team. I have a team of advertisers that will run the marketing, all that. I will write the copy, create the offer, create the structure. Sometimes we will outsource certain copy depending. I have a partner in Baltimore. His name's Jimmy. He's worked for Agora Financial for quite some time. So I've been
Oh, wow.
studying marketing with him for the past year and just sharpening my writing chops. So
Yeah.
they do some pretty big promotions.
They're the big,
So
they're the biggest, man.
yeah, they're giant.
Agora is like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
taking your writing and putting it through their gauntlet of editing.
yeah.
It takes a pretty strong takes a pretty strong suit of armor to actually like come out and like want to edit it after without
Yeah,
crying.
yeah, no, I've heard stories. I've heard
Yeah.
stories. Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
we have a core team of people that have wicked talent, and then if we do need above and beyond and the resources are there to fund that
Mm,
side of things, then we figure out who's the best person that we need. Maybe we need a designer here, maybe we need
mm.
some copy help here. But it
Oh,
generally starts with the core team and then goes out, but they're all individual contractors as well.
okay, cool. Yeah, no, I was curious of that.
Mhm.
Well, that's really cool, man. And as far as I've seen you post a number of times about Facebook ads. So you also run like the Facebook campaigns for folks that are trying to get some traffic.
Yeah, so my partner Julia, she's from Vancouver. I met her there. She's actually in Belgium right now, traveling with her family. But we do some front ends on that end, running Facebook ads, traffic, building up the funnels, all that. She handles a lot of that department, but I also deal make and create the front end offers. So
Mm,
I'll be involved in the beginning process to create the wording, the messaging to make everything stick. And then
mhm.
from there, her and her team will take on the rest. So,
And for connecting with clients, how does that usually work? Is that you guys running ads yourself to get them, or is it word of mouth referrals, or like are you approaching people that you think are a good fit through cold, reaching out? Like what's kind of worked the best for you?
so over the years, we built everything up initially organically and through referrals. Funny enough, I would say referrals is probably our best source. Once we get people results, we springboard off those results and we create lucrative commission structures too. Whereas if you send a deal and it's a good sized deal, you'll get paid on a monthly commission. I think it's good for everyone to kind of win that way because then you have other people looking out for you.
Yeah.
So there's that. We create content like maniacs. We're trying to create posts every other day, videos. We have different groups that we've ran. Yeah, so all in all, I would say mostly organic. We do some cold outreach, but a lot of it's just if we make a new connection, I'll connect with them, build a relationship with them, see who they are, where they're at, if they need connections,
Mhm.
and then from there, building strategic alliances along the way, like just different people like yourself moving and shaking. They're doing cool business, and then they have a cool opportunity. You've shifted off,
Yeah.
you make cash, you look good too for the person that you're referring because you know they're in good hands.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I would say definitely just honestly organic and referrals mostly. We've
Nice.
done some paid advertising for advertising, but it's funny enough, I find we've found better clients just through getting people results and leapfrogging off the results.
Yeah, yeah, that's, action speaks louder than words most of the time.
Yeah.
For someone wanting to, if they've got an idea for a project or a product or a service to market, how simple or difficult would it be for them to do it themselves from the ground up? Like if they want to get a ClickFunnels account or something, and then they want to start doing some Instagram or Facebook ads, like really what's the realistic, um, percentage that they'll come out on top instead of losing money? Like a lot of people on Facebook, these campaigns can go pretty fast.
Yeah. I would say I think it's reasonable to expect if you're starting a new campaign to not see tangible results for the first 3 months. You'll start seeing results. You'll start seeing some opt-ins, and you'll start seeing some things move. But a lot of people think and feel that they can turn Facebook ads on tomorrow and all of a sudden be a millionaire. And generally that's not the case. But I think there's something to be said about keeping it simple. There's so much information online. Like all you literally need is a bribe or something, an opt-in, whatever it be, information to lead form to fill out your contact info, like your phone number or whatever it be, and then following up through email, whatever it be, providing value, and then always asking for more though, like asking for that next step. And like, I think an interesting way I've heard about it recently is like marketing's like dating. It's like taking somebody on the first date. You don't ask them for marriage right away. Generally not. You don't take them like propose on the first date because that's kind of weird. But you know, over the time, you build up the relationship and the connection. I mean, I think it's like if you know your market, you can write a good ad. If you don't know your market, spend some time on research. I think a lot of people jump in expecting to create a winner without doing research, and I think a lot of the magic comes from doing proper market research and actually seeing what has worked in the past and actually scouring through Amazon reviews and going through forums and all that stuff to see like the actual wording and the verbiage that people use. And once you do the research, your stuff writes itself.
Right.
Which I think is powerful. I don't know if that answered your question in
No,
full.
it does. It does.
But I think
it does. Yeah. No, that's a good illustration, because I know for myself, like I've got this idea for something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but you know, to be honest, like all this campaigns, testing, split testing, you know, like retargeting, creating multiple, you know, sequences of ads and videos. I'm just like, man, I like, it's intimidating. You know what I mean? It is kind of intimidating to be like,
it takes an army.
Yeah. Like I've seen what, like for example, there's maybe about a year ago, I was working with a company out of Vancouver. My friend's company, they've got a huge office in the Bentel Towers right downtown, just like a crazy marketing agency. And we were doing a deal where they were going to run all the ads and stuff for an ebook that I put together, like doing like a video course kind of, and just seeing like literally the team of people that they had to do everything from the design of the site to actually build the funnel, to write the copy. You know, I was always having to record these videos and stuff. And then it was actually for a crypto product. And then right when we were about to launch it, the market just like literally that same month, just tanked. So just seeing how much prep and production goes into these campaigns. And, you know, we were kind of like the competition for this product we're going to put together was James Altucher. So we were kind of like modeling James's crypto course, and we were trying to put together one similar to that. But yeah, just the time, and then everything's set, and then the timing just doesn't work, you know, like, so there's all these variables, you know, it's there's a lot of moving parts to it. So that's why I'm curious, because it's something that I have an idea about, another niche that I want to go into, but just after seeing that, and this would be something I'd be doing solo without that backing. So yeah, just curious.
One thing that I think is really valuable is like, if you can prove a process organically that works, use ads to amplify that process. A lot of the times people try and recreate the wheel after they've nailed it organically. So they have a way of getting customers organically, because it's all the same stuff. It's just a different process because you're using more automation.
Right.
But if you want the process organically, try and figure out how to do the exact same thing, but with paid.
And then that's when you can scale it up. And
well, that's because when you know it works, like I think oftentimes like,
oh, I see what you mean. Don't go paid first. First, make it organically, referrals, kind of build it up.
Try and get at least proof of concept first to see if it works that way.
Right.
And then from there, then you can really amplify that. Like a prime example is like somebody selling a home. With Facebook ads, your average marketer would think, well, I need to get their phone number and everything in here, because then I can call them and follow up.
Right.
But if what's worked in the past is they've called you and said, hey, I'd like this house, figure out how to get them to call you to say, hey, I'd like this house,
Right.
instead of inbound, and then you have to go outbound, and then you have to use a sales team to follow up with a leads list of like, if you have hundreds of different leads, you need somebody banging the phone every day. And if that's how it works, that's great. But if you're noticing that you're closing more of your sales when they're coming inbound and they're calling you, you can still capture their information, but try and figure out a way to keep the process the same that was getting the sales before.
Yeah. No, that's really good. Did you spend that much time with Microcell in Bali? Did you meet him?
No, I didn't.
Okay, yeah, I hung out with him a number of times, and I went through his process, and he's got like his whole deal is you wanted to go from webinar and not have anything offered on the webinar, have them set up a one-on-one call, do a free 20-minute consultation, and then on the phone, when you call them, that's when you give value, see if you're a match, and then you make an offer for kind of a high ticket offer for, prolonged coaching or something like that. So yeah, it's like you said, there's all different processes to do. You just have to find one that makes sense and that works, and then from there you can kind of really optimize it more.
Well, I like that, because like technically the webinar amplifies the organic content, because like normally how we will book a lot of clients is we create content, people message us, say, hey, I want to know more, then we book a call. So in that case, the webinar does the content piece for you.
Right.
You track in, it gets them going, and then it's like, hey, let's book a call. So it's, that's cool. I like that.
And if you don't mind, like for people interested in discovering more about what you're doing, what kind of budget range should they have to be able to work with you guys and set all this up?
Mm-hmm. So if it's just advisory or mentorship, mentorship and advisory, if we're just giving advice, it can range from anywhere to $1,500 a month to $2,500 a month. If we're implementing specifically and building the front end, it can range a lot higher into like 5 figures plus. If it's performance based and they have an existing list, it wouldn't cost anything, but they have to have proof that they have an existing list and that it's a good list. And that we can create a good relationship together. Because I think like that's the most important part about the performance marketing, is like building a beautiful relationship where we can all make loads of cash, because everyone's happy when they're making money. So yeah, I would say it varies. Obviously build outs cost more, because we're having to do a lot of the heavy lifting. But if it's just advice and insight, then from there it's based on a monthly retainer. Got it.
Cool, man. Cool. Yeah. And where can people kind of connect with you and see what you offer and follow up?
Yeah. So you can follow me on Facebook. You can go to my website, troyassoignon.com. It's hard to spell, but TROYASSOIGNON.com. There's loads of case studies and results on there. Still populating the content on there, but we're most active on Facebook. You can check me out on Instagram, trusted.advisor. That's about it.
Cool, man. Well, I'll have those links down below here. And anything else you want to share of where you're going next, or anything on the travel front, or things that you want to put out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're planning to go to South America next. We're not too sure, 100% figuring that out. But I think if you're just listening to this, like, keep on going and enjoy the journey. I think it's so easy for a lot of people to not enjoy the process and the journey of everything that they're creating. It's so easy to get caught up in the end destination. And It's like, learn to fall in love with the process, and life just becomes more fun. That's a big thing that I'm trying to teach myself, is just like fall in love with the process of creation. And if you fail, you fail. And if you fail, you learn, or you win. So I think that's a big one that I want to leave people with.
That's really good, man. I mean, for myself, I always feel that I went to this conference with Shawn Achor. He's like the only professor of happiness. He's a Harvard professor, and he actually teaches happiness at Harvard. Yeah. And he's got this theory, and I totally could relate to it. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people can. They say, when this happens, I'll be happy. When this happens, I can relax. When this happens, I can enjoy myself. And I find
Yeah.
myself always like that. It's like, okay, when I go do this, then this is good. When I do this,
Yeah.
then I'll that, like, and it's all about just what you said, like enjoy the process. And that's all life is. Like if you're just waiting to die, waiting to retire, like you're missing out on the whole spectrum of what's really life is. It's just the ups and downs. And
Give me the chills. It's true, because like even oftentimes we'll set income goals and you get there, and then it's like, cool, what's next?
right.
Like
Right.
you never you never actually arrive.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing, is like you never get to the destination where it's like, I'm here. It's like, okay, I'm here, what's next? And then you never actually celebrate that sight that you had of when I get there. Then
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, no, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, no, man. Well, this has been really cool, man. It's been great to expand on our connection that we had in Bali there, and looking forward to following your travels. And super inspiring to hear the relationship that you've created, the business you've created, and just the impact you're making, man. So thanks so much for coming on and sharing. And I'll have your links below for people to kind of connect and follow you and your journey. And yeah, man, that's that. I think that's a pretty good place to wrap it up.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. I mean, I think that's how we connected at the men's event, is you shared some pretty, I can just tell you're a guy that cares, and I really appreciate the message that you're spreading to all the amazing people. So thank you for doing what you do.
Well, it's funny that we both have a similar background of Winnipeg and Vancouver and living abroad and stuff. So that's probably why we connected so well there. So that's awesome, man. And yeah, I'll have those links below. People can follow up, and look forward to next time we can connect.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Take care, brother.
Thanks, guys.